If your people keep doing the work, but you're not seeing the impact in the business, you might be stuck in blind tasks. This is the second buy-in blocker in our special series with Dave Garrison, and it shows up every time someone says, yes, I'll get it done, but has no real appreciation for how it relates to the bigger picture or to the customer. And in this episode, Dave breaks down what happens when tasks become disconnected from purpose, right? You've seen this. Leaders think they've delegated. People feel like order takers, and then nobody's actually filtering decisions through the outcomes that you care about, the ones that move the needle. He'll show you how blind tasks create that quiet resistance where folks follow the checklist instead of thinking, and why that kills ownership even on the most talented teams. So this episode is basically a masterclass in how to turn those blind tasks into what Dave calls meaningful commitments. So when someone says yes, it's a yes that shows up in their priorities, in their calendar, and in their behavior. And this is episode 3 in the Buy-in Blockers Takeover series. So make sure that you've listened to the overview and the purpose drift episode, and then use this one to start connecting every task on your team or even with yourself back to what really matters. So let's dive into this one.
My friend, the amazing George, has invited me to share with you some game-changing insights into untapped potential that every business has, but very few take advantage of. And here's the key. It costs nothing except for attention and intention. What am I talking about? It's employee buy-in. Hi, I'm Dave Garrison. I'm author of the USA Today best-selling book, The Buy-in Advantage: Why Employees Don't Care and How Great Leaders Inspire Them. So what is this buy-in? Just as a quick reminder, in case you haven't seen the last 2 podcasts, buy-in is when people bring all of their enthusiasm, energy, and experience to work to solve problems and to work together to make great things happen. It's like the energy you see at Friday night football games instead of the, oh yeah, what do I have to do today? Got a long to-do list. Which would you rather have? Which do you see in your business? Which would allow you to have more time to focus on what's really important? So in the next 3 episodes, we're going to explore common mistakes that are buy-in blockers. Last week, we talked about purpose drift. That's one of the buy-in blockers, and that's when people lose sight of the compelling purpose of the business, why what you're doing collectively really matters, so they can understand how they're contributing to something bigger than themselves and why their work is important. And purpose drift is what happens, and that's the blocker, unless purpose, the compelling purpose, is identified, repeated, and comes up every single time you're thinking about decisions or how to prioritize. The other blockers are blind tasks, lone wolf leadership, and one-way communication. Today, we're going to talk about blind tasks. And that's like people who follow blindly and do whatever it is you ask. Only that's not what really happens, is it? You know you have a smart team, and when you delegate projects or ask people to do something, you still seem to not get the results that you asked for. You know they're working on it. It's just not delivered on time, or what you get back is not what you expected. And time, money, and resources have been wasted. It is so frustrating because in your mind, or my mind as a leader, I think, man, how come they didn't get this done? I've given them plenty of time. I was really gracious, and it's still not done. Another problem when you have this blind task syndrome that indicates a total lack of buy-in, you notice that people don't take initiative. It feels like people are waiting around to be asked what to do, and that's a sign you don't have buy-in. And another frustration, I've had this, when you delegate, you're always maybe thoughtful to ask after you give them the task, hey, do you have any questions? And I know that's well-intended, but it may be the worst question you can ask. There are more effective questions, and we'll tell you how to use them. So look, it's so frustrating when you have to spend your time checking in on projects and learning they're either not done on time, not done the way you talked about. And your ask when you asked them to do the project was perfectly clear, right? So what happened? And when you follow up with people, they squawk, probably to others, not to you, that you're micromanaging, which is very annoying to them. You're not trying to micromanage. You're trying to find out where things are and move things forward. And people are frustrated when you follow up with them because they get the sense you don't trust them. And if they feel they are not trusted because you're bugging them, it further erodes buy-in. So this is like a vicious circle where you feel like you're not getting stuff done. They feel like they're being bugged. The problem, 99% of the time, is lack of explicit alignment. Explicit alignment. The two of you, the person you're asking to do something and yourself, or you and the team, don't align or didn't align on what great would look like. The good news is there is a formula we outline in the book, The Buy-in Advantage, that you can put to work today. You don't have to buy the book right now. It's a great read, but let's dive into how you can stop this blind task following. It's insidious. So, look, here's a solution. It's not that difficult. When you want something done, before you have a conversation with anybody else, here's what I want you to do. I want you to zoom out to the big picture and clearly identify why this task is important. What's it linked to? How's it relate to values, compelling purpose, a key objective, a strategy you've got? Why is this thing you're asking them important? Be really clear. Why is it worth doing? Next, before you have any conversation, identify in your own mind what great looks like. Think about this as a checklist in your head. When this project is complete, you'll know that it was done on time with the resources we have. It will be delivered in a report that will be comprehensive and explain exactly what it is we should do, who needs to be involved, or whatever it is your criteria is on any given project. So that criteria or checklist in your head needs to be clear in your mind before you talk to anybody. Note to self, this is not how you're doing the project or how you want them to do the project or how you would do the project. This is the checklist that would let you know it was done as you intended. So after you've identified the why and the checklist of what great looks like, now you're ready for a conversation. So give the person the specific task that you're expecting them to do and share with them the why it's important and share with them your criteria for what great looks like. Then simply say, hey, are there other criteria that you would add to this? And ask what resources you're going to need. What might not get done if you do this? What would it take for you to prioritize this task? That's the two-way conversation to have. That's not, will you please do this for me? Yes, I will. Do you have any questions? No, I don't. That's a guarantee that time will be wasted and this blind task thing will carry on. So this is asking them, what would it take for them to complete the project? How would they do the work? What resources do you need? That kind of conversation. That's the how. And the last and overlooked agreement in most conversations of delegation is on timeline and check-in. Timeline simply looks like, hey, when is it reasonable for you to complete this project? And for you to agree on what kind of check-ins you want along the way. Is that, hey, shoot me a text if this project is going to be delayed. Hey, drop me an email every week. Let me know how you're doing. Hey, let me know when it's completed. What kind of check-ins do you want? Are those email, text, carrier pigeon? Doesn't matter. It's just whatever you agree to. Now, remember I said earlier, the dumb question, the question you never ask is, do you have any questions? Okay. This one last very, very, very important step. If you remember nothing else, remember this last step. Ask the other person to repeat back what they heard you say and you agreed to make sure you are aligned. Ask them to repeat back what you've agreed to make sure that you are aligned. Note, I said ask them to tell you what they understand. It's not you summarizing or asking a question like, do you understand? It's them telling you. Whew, that may seem like you're questioning their awareness or ability to listen, but nothing could be further than the truth. Look, this may seem like a lot to remember, but Ben Franklin a long time ago said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. What the heck? In business, it means the time you spend up front gaining alignment and clarity about what's to be done, what great looks like, and when it's going to get done by, the less time you'll spend chasing people for answers you don't want to hear. And the more time you'll have for doing your own work and getting around to what's really important. Give it a try and let me and George know how it goes for you. Hey, shoot me a message on LinkedIn if you'd like, and I'll send you a guide to developing and applying your checklist for delegation. You can end the blind task blocker of buy-in and turn it to your advantage. Next time, we're going to talk about buy-in blocker number 3, lone wolf leadership. Don't miss it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Buy-in Blockers Takeover series from my incredible friend, Dave Garrison. I had to throw an outro on every one of these episodes because you have to know Dave, you have to know his team, and you have to use his resources. If you are an entrepreneur at every level, whether you're just starting out, maybe you have a 1099, maybe you have a team of 3, maybe you have a team of 10, maybe you have a team of 50, everything that Dave speaks and Dave teaches is applicable and so powerful for you to use. And so at the offset of this, I have to tell you, you need to get a copy of his book, The Buy-in Advantage. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on their website, garrisongrowth.com. But I use this book as a manual. I use the tools in it. I use it to run meetings. I use it to help clients with processes and priorities. And this book has become one of my top books when it comes to building and scaling a company, which is why I asked Dave to come take over the podcast and do this series. So get yourself a copy of The Buy-in Advantage. And I wanted to throw this out there because I wrangled them into a corner and I know how valuable what he does is for everybody. And so they are running a special training called the Leadership Sprint, which they will give you access to. You can come live, you can ask Dave questions. And in order to do that, you need to shoot Dave a message on LinkedIn. So he's easy to find. It's Dave Garrison on LinkedIn. I'll have it all linked in the show notes, and shoot them a message that says Leadership Sprint. Let them know what your takeaway was from the podcast, and they will send you a link to the training. And I'm also going to throw this out there. They might get mad at me, but if there's anything that resonates with you when it comes to leadership, when it comes to buy-in, when it comes to managing your team, when it comes to priority, I highly, highly encourage you to reach out to their team with any questions. Their email is engage@garrisongrowth.com, and they're absolutely incredible. So they are here to help you on your buy-in journey, to help you build your team, scale your team, and take your company and bring that vision to life. And so it's a resource. I invite you to use it, but I wanted to throw this outro on all the episodes. So I hope you enjoy this entire series with Dave Garrison, and make sure you reach out, and we'll see you in the next episode.